I hate to say it, but it really doesn't seem like Kid Cudi likes his fans at all. He always beefs with them on Twitter, and I feel like this new situation with Love Kid Cudi's one of his most important and popular songs just really shows how disconnected he is from his fans. It all started off with this tweet where this guy George says, "Thank you, Cudi, for making this masterpiece," and then he has a screenshot of Kid Cudi's Love on SoundCloud, and then Cudi says, "You know I released this on like streaming platforms and officially, right?" And then Julian says the OG version on SoundCloud hits different, which is, I mean, it's kind of understandable because like I feel like there's a lot more nostalgia to that, but I don't think it actually is any different from the actual song. And I feel like from what I've heard from both of them, they seem pretty similar. Maybe there's like a little bit of difference, but they're basically the same song. Then Cudi hits him with the taking it off, which is might be one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Why would you take off a song that, some of your fans listen to on SoundCloud or I guess YouTube even because they're not listening to it on the official streaming platforms? Like SoundCloud is definitely still making Cudi money and still is a place where some people that don't can't afford Spotify or can't afford Apple Music can go to listen to music. So it's just like a lot better, but I just don't get why he would take off a song that, gets the song out even more to accessibility and just promotes pirating in general. And then here you can clearly see that the track is not available anymore, and he literally just deleted it straight off of SoundCloud. Then people started clowning him on Twitter, which, kind of makes sense to me. This guy says, "Kid Cudi, don't be a fucking loser. Challenge impossible," which I think is funny, and I think it's kind of a thing that's happened to Cudi recently where he just doesn't know what to say on Twitter and to do on Twitter, and he just doesn't know how to keep his like public rep like intact when he's beefing with his fans. It's kind of like the Steve Lacy thing where he was kind of beefing with his fans on tour, but this is one that's a lot more public. And if Steve Lacy doesn't like the fans at his tour, I get it, but Kid Cudi is actively attacking fans on Twitter, which is one of the stupidest things. Like these fans are just trying to listen to the songs and do just support his music, and he doesn't want them to do that because he wants them to support it on Sound or Spotify and Apple Music instead of SoundCloud, which is just so dumb. Like to me, this is a lot different than like the Kid Cudi situation where he was beefing with people and saying a lot of stuff on Twitter when he was at Rolling Loud and people were throwing stuff at him, and when he was beefing with Kanye. Because if people don't like Kanye and Cudi doesn't like Kanye either, if people like Kanye and Cudi doesn't like Kanye and they're fans of his and they're like, he put you on, I get that. Like he can beef with his fans, but he's just so vocal on Twitter for no reason in my opinion. And he just says all these things that don't really matter, and there's no reason for him to say them, and there's just so much backlash because he's saying things that no one like actually wants to hear from him, and he's just starting beef with people that he really shouldn't have beef with. Then he hits people with the "I love you so, so, so much," which I think is kind of like a cover up and trying to say that, he actually loves his fans, even though it really doesn't seem like it from his actions on Twitter. This to me is the worst tweet of the whole time. He says, "Anybody switching up and talking shit about me taking off my song from SoundCloud, thanks for showing who you truly are. It's a reason why I don't want to do music anymore. Some fans can be toxic and not cool sometimes. This app be showing some of y'all real true colors." But I think this is kind of hypocritical because Cudi is the reason why this is happening. Like you don't have to take your song off SoundCloud. Like I get saying, listen to the official version, it's a lot better and whatever, but SoundCloud I feel like is an official third platform of music, or even fourth if you count YouTube above it. So it's not like there's any beef here to begin with. Like Cudi's the one that actually kind of started this whole beef with his fans, and there's no reason for him to be getting mad at his fans for saying they're switching up and talking shit, because this is just a stupid move from him, and there's no reason he should be taking, a song off SoundCloud when, some people might like to use SoundCloud over Spotify or Apple Music just because there's a lot more songs on there, because you can kind of pirate a lot more stuff. But it's not even that. It just like is an official platform, and it's just there's no reason to take off a song that was already super popular on there and that people can listen to, and now just kind of exclusivizing it to Spotify and Apple Music or even YouTube. Then he hits people with the "I'll be happy when I stop making albums so I don't have to deal with this madness anymore," which to me, I get it because Cudi's kind of moved on from albums. He's moved on to like the bigger storytelling, especially with Intergalactic. But I think it is kind of weird when you're saying, I don't want to make music anymore, when music is the way that a lot of these people found you and became like actual fans of you. And that's how you kind of got put on a big pedestal like this because of music and because of the fans who liked your music. So I don't get why you're saying, oh, I don't ever want to make music again because of the fans, because that's not the reason why you don't want to make music. You don't want to make music because you're moving on to bigger things, and you're doing all this other stuff. And he did say before that he's only trying to make one more album coming out not next year, but maybe the year after or whatever. But I think this is kind of just because of the weak reception of Intergalactic and the whole show. Like I'm not 100% sure, but I didn't really see any promotion for Intergalactic, maybe because it was seen as a soundtrack for the movie or whatever you want to call his show that he made. But I don't know. I feel like Cudi's trying to pivot away because there's not as much of a fan base for him anymore, and he wants to do bigger things, which I totally get, because when you're a musician, you do this for so long. I mean, he's probably been doing it for almost 15 years at this point, and you see it and you're like, I don't care about making music anymore. I want to do bigger things. And I feel like movie and TV shows do seem like bigger things to a lot of these musicians, which I totally get. But I just feel like kind of saying that it's the fans that are pushing you away from music is a really weird way to phrase it. And I think putting the blame on your fans like this is a thing that Cudi does way too often, and it's something that you shouldn't be doing as an artist or just anyone, where the supporters are the ones who are making you all the money and they're your actual fan base. And I do see why I get it, because he does say he was writing 2 new movies, one that's a horror thriller and another one that's a black rom-com, both live action, and he's been putting so much time into that, and he's had all these creative juices flowing, which, I mean, I really like Cudi for doing that. Like, you don't have to be doing music all your life, and I think him moving on to bigger things is a great thing. But when you're a person, kind of like Billy Eichner with his newest movie, I don't know what it's called. Oh, it was Bros. It was the gay rom-com. He was blaming a lot of people for not coming out to his movie, and I think that's a bad thing when you're having these fights with these people that might be fans of yours, or people that are looking at your art and they're like, I don't want to support someone that is so mean to the people who are actually giving them all this money. And I think this is kind of a thing with Cudi, where he is a super likable person in some ways, but at the same time, he just makes all these stupid decisions that make him super unlikable in the same way. Like Kanye and DaBaby and Tory Lanez, these are all people that have done super bad things and they've been canceled and people don't like them, but they still might support him because of their art. Cudi is like kind of the opposite way, because he's not saying all these stupid things. He's saying these things to his fans, which are the ones actually supporting him in that way, which just to me really turns me off. And I don't like Cudi because of this, but I will still support his stuff. And if he comes out with something and it has good reviews, I'll definitely go and watch it, because, I am still a Cudi fan at heart. But if he keeps doing these things, I'll have definitely be less inclined to go to his next project or listen to his next album, or just, do whatever he wants to do artistically. I might not go to it because of all these things he's been doing recently.